All right, looks like everybody has come in from the waiting room, so we will go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to our August Missouri Open Door Technology Series. Today's topic is going to be Shop Local for Tech. My name is Angelina Alpert. I am a program area specialist at the Life Course Nexus. Um, and we will go ahead and get started. So for today's objectives, we're going to do an overview of Missouri No Wrong Door. We'll learn about shopping local for tech, and then we will end with an integrated support star. So, for any of you unfamiliar with Missouri No Wrong Door, it is about transforming the way people access services in the community. So, it supports individuals and caregivers to make decisions on complete and accurate information about their options for anyone seeking long term services and supports, regardless of age, income, or disability. We do have a lot of partners throughout the state of Missouri on No Wrong Door, one of which being Missouri Assistive Technology, who co-hosts this series with us. Um, and I've mentioned on the past couple of series that we did just get a new round of No Wrong Door funding to continue this work. So the Department of Health and Senior Services is kind of taking the lead on that. And we're really excited to see where things go with that as we continue to collaborate across the state. So, a little bit more about the series. The goal with these is opening doors to integrated supports. So, here we have our integrated support star, which I will talk a little bit more about later in depth. Um, but our two series that we have are on technology, which is what you're at today. And then we also have one called the benefit series, which is on eligibility specific um, services and supports, which are going to be needs based, whether it's on age, geography, income, if you have a specific disability diagnosis, those more government paid formal services. So, as we talk about those five types of services and supports, if we start on the left, we see that each person exists within the context of their family and their community. In the center is what tends to happen unintentionally when a person is receiving services and supports, which is that the services and supports kind of seclude them and don't allow them to be a part of the family and community that they choose in the way that they would like. So, our goal is to integrate those services and supports throughout a person's life so that they are able to be a part of the family and community of their choosing. All right. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Scout.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining today. We are just gonna talk kind of in some of those kind of prep things for when you're thinking about like how can I help a loved one or where do I look for technology for a client, right? Like I talk to people a lot about like, oh, you can't afford this device, but ask for it for, from all your kids for Christmas. Things like that. So a little early for that, but it's never too early to plan, right? Okay. So we can move on to our slides. So first I wanted to kind of do this, and I don't know if you're noticing my image there is similar to an image we've already seen, but what is local to you? For some people, local is a walkable distance, right? I want to be able to walk downtown because I don't have a car. I want to be able to, get to these things on my own. Or it's, something that's close, and close is a relative term, as I've learned living with somebody who used to live in the country. For me, close is 2 to 5 miles. For her, close was under 30 miles. So what does this mean to you? And quite frankly, for some people, local really is still shopping online because they can do it from their couch, which is very local. All right. So we'll talk about kind of some stores and places that a majority of people can get to in a fairly short amount of time. But we want to make sure, I want to just, kind of always touch on, it's more important that the device fits the need than where you get it, right? Because when it fits, it is much more likely to be successful. So, you know, I can give somebody a personal amplifier because I know that's going to be helpful. But if they haven't chosen the style, if they haven't chosen the features that work for them, they might not ever pick it up, right? So of course we always want to keep with that fit for the individual. All right. So assistive technology, when we think about that definition of it, it's basically, just to kind of paraphrase, it's a device that is that supports a person with a disability with a task. It has been considered specialty equipment, but as our population ages, we see more of these devices kind of creeping in locally and available in general stores. So that is kind of a nice thing, especially about having this aging boomer population, is that there is more focus on devices that meet a greater kind of uh, fronts of accessibility. So, and then so that kind of goes in with the everyday technology. We look at our phones, which we don't think of as assistive technology. It really is just, something that people are using, or smart home devices. They're really just devices that lots of folks are using. But if we think about the features and the benefits to folks with disabilities, they really are, as I say here, game changers, or they can be. Just the amount of accessibility features built into every smartphone, is phenomenal. And then the smart home devices, I always go back to a story of a former boss of mine who was put to bed each night, and from bed she could access one switch. So if she was hot, she could turn a fan on, and if she was cool, she could turn the fan off, and that's that. The fan was off and she was still cool. There was nothing else she could do. But with a smart home device and a smart thermostat, she could set the thermostat, or she can now set the thermostat to any temperature that suits her throughout the year. Which really, I mean, it's just those kinds of features are really, again, like I said, game changers for folks. And then also, we have the options now of 3D printing. And so those things that can be 3D printed, can be hyperlocal, again, in your home or at your local library or some other local makerspace. All right. So local is great, but not at the cost of feature matching. So we really want to just kind of keep that in mind. All right, let's move on. So we're going to talk about a few different places. So I have hardware stores. I did have to add in Bed Bath and Beyond is no longer, so there's some other some kind of replacements, because I used to send people to Bed Bath and Beyond all the time. All right, grocery stores, pharmacies, craft stores, places like Walmart and Best Buy, the box stores. And then schools, libraries, and agencies for things like 3D print tools. So let's go ahead and jump into some of the things that are available near you. All right, so hardware stores. There are big box stores, there are Ace Hardwares, different kinds of hardware stores. And for this, I was thinking mostly about like Ace Hardware. Um, but it's the same as I think true for places like Lowe's and Home Depot, that their focus on adding in more products that meet a broader need, let's say, has really increased over the last 10 years. There's a particular item called a jar key that I couldn't get anywhere locally, um, probably now 15 years ago. And then, I don't know, 12 years ago or so, it started popping up in the Westlake's Ace Hardwares. And it was great. They started expanding their kitchen section and included a lot of tools that I used that I couldn't get anywhere locally, and now suddenly they're there. A place like Ace Hardware, you can ask them to add items. They may or may not, but they will at least take it under consideration. So they do now have things with larger grip. There's more focus on lightweight items or items that are easier to use. A lot of the hardware store, a lot of the big box stores all have smart home devices. Some of your local hardware stores will have them as well. A great variety of motion lights. These are all things that can have great benefit for a wide variety of needs. So yeah, they now have can and jar open at Westlake's. Can and jar openers, easy to use cleaning supplies, gardening tools, motion lights, even like a Revishelf. I didn't put that in the next slide, but if you're not familiar with this, it can take a cabinet, even if you think about a lower cabinet and you add this, what's it called? Like a sliding shelf in there. So instead of trying to reach to the back of a cabinet, you can slide out your shelf and just choose something. All right, we can go on to the next slide. And yeah, so here are some of the variety of things. There's a picture of the jar key. And there's a variety, like I said, a variety of openers that are now available at Westlake's Ace Hardware. This is a smart thermostat, so it has the advantage of large print, because even an old thermostat, they're just very hard to see, but also the ability to hook up to a smart home hub, like an Amazon device, and then set that temperature by voice. It's a great option. Motion lights in all varieties, whether they're for under a cabinet, under a bed, along a path. These are all very useful tools. And even things like there's a picture of a gardening work seat. So big chunky tires. It's like a tractor seat with a little shelf for tools. I was going to put in gardening tools. There's a variety of accessible gardening tools that are available, but the gardening seat I thought was just too good to pass up for an image. So lots of things available at your local hardware stores. All right, let's see what else we've got. So again, I have not quite gotten over the loss of Bed Bath & Beyond, just because it was a great place to go for OXO products. Lots and lots of large grip. As far as the kitchen realm, I sent people there a lot. But local kitchen stores, even a box store with a good kitchen area, you can get lots of different things that are made of silicone, which to me I like because they're dishwasher safe. They're highly washable. They're kind of like resistant to a lot of they might stain a little bit, but there's a lot of great features about silicone. So again, they're being incorporated more with large grip. You can find heat resistant handles, which are great. Don't have to use a pot holder if you have great handles on your lids and pots, things that are easier to use. And at a local kitchen store, you can really get that personalized assistance. All right, let's take a look at some of the things that are available. So one of the silicone things that I think is really handy is these silicone lids. So if you have a bowl with contents, pulling out the like saran wrap or something like that, you've got a foil edge. It can be dangerous for some folks. It can just be messy and hard to deal with. It takes two hands, all those things. Where if you have a silicone lid, you can actually put it on top of a bowl. Oh, fun fact. All right, this is an impromptu demo. It's a bowl, silicone lid. So my silicone lid actually holds my bowl up. If you can see this in the image, I'm taking my lid, putting it on top of my bowl, and then holding the bowl by the lid. Not that I recommend that, but it can make a great seal if you have your things matched up. But also it's just super easy to use, super easy to then clean. They're dishwasher safe, and there's the advantage of there's no trash, but really for that accessibility piece, these silicone lids are very helpful. All right, there is an image of locking tongs. These have elbows so that your tonging part is not resting on your countertop, but it's resting on the little elbows. And then there's a button at the end. So if you're picking something up, you can hit that button, lock the tong. You can actually pick it up and hit it on the countertop, which is kind of cool. So even if you're a one-handed user with weak grip, you could still, lock that tong and then move your food around, and not have to squeeze it tight. There's an image of heat resistant handles. These are wooden, so that's kind of cool. And then all kinds of little specialty items like herb scissors. It's a lot safer to cut with scissors than with a knife, especially small things like herbs. And so you could, pick up a pair of herb scissors or lots of other kind of handy little gadgets. I have a friend who had use of one hand, and she liked the salt and pepper grinders that basically have a wing top. And so when you squeeze those wings together, that's how you grind your salt and pepper, because every other grinder takes two hands, and she did not have that option. So, lots of things that can support people's wants and needs available. All right, let's see what else we've got. All right, how about the grocery store? I mean, we're all at the grocery store. Well, those of us that still go to the grocery store and know that delivery is a great option. But even if you're getting your groceries delivered, they can deliver some of these kinds of items. So there's kitchen tools at the grocery stores. There's often pharmacy supplies. So you need a med planner, you need a pill cutter. A lot of grocery stores now have things like that available. And like I said, you just get it thrown in with your delivery or pick it up while you're there. They can have easy open containers. There's the thing that you can't do locally is there's a lot of high shelves. Those are still hard to access. But nobody's in the grocery store alone, so there's generally somebody there to pull something down. But it is a place that we can kind of look and see. Even a lot of the cans these days have the ring pull tab instead of requiring a can opener. And so that is actually a more accessible design for a lot of folks. So, just kind of keeping an eye out for those things that work better for you, as great as you're perusing the grocery store or the grocery store app. All right, I don't think I did pictures of those because what's the next slide? Yes, because, anything could be anywhere. All right, pharmacies. Pharmacies are a great local resource in my book, especially if you have a full service pharmacy. If it's locally owned, you're more likely to get better service than if it's inside a Walmart or a big chain. But there's not a lot of local mom and pop pharmacies left. So even, going to a CVS or Walgreens or Walmart, there's still a lot there to, to check out. So lots of durable medical equipment. They can have everything from canes and walkers and wheelchairs to sock aids and adaptive silverware, just all kinds. Oh, that's not durable medical equipment, but all kinds of different options there. A variety of med planners are available at probably most, if not every single pharmacy. And I really think that med planners, they are one of those things that I think are kind of a no-brainer, but it is a barrier for some people. It is one of those places where I've heard, I'm not that bad yet. And I think, well, how bad do you need to be, whatever bad is, to use a med planner? If you take medication, a med planner is beneficial in my book. So, having those varieties and finding the med planner that actually makes somebody feel okay about having a med planner can be, some people don't care, they just need a functional med planner, but other people really care because they feel like choosing a med planner means something more about them. So finding the right style can be helpful. Of course, reader glasses, so you can try on and see what strength works for you, but also different magnifiers and even large print items can be found at many pharmacies. And then I have found, I used to use a very local pharmacy, and the staff was just super helpful. If I had questions, if I was like, hey, you don't have this product, they were very interested. And I like that about a pharmacy, that they want to, especially if they're local, they want to serve the local community. So if you have something you need, they might be interested in getting that in. So I think I have some images of some fun things from pharmacies. Oh, med planner, even the colors on the med planners. Some people like that. Oh, look, it's Monday, so I'm going to that orange section. Other people just want a plain one. They don't want it to stick out. They don't want anything fancy. So again, but what about large print or talking blood pressure monitors? Those are available now, sometimes just without going online, just right at your local pharmacy. And then, there's a bed rail that you can get, sometimes multiple styles, so you can pick what you want of some durable medical equipment, and even things like rollators. You can now get those, or stool risers or walkers, sock aids, reachers, all those things are often available in a pharmacy now, which is just great. You don't have to go to a specialty vendor for just some of those basic needs. All right, let's see. And craft stores. I don't honestly spend a lot of time in craft stores, but they do have some really helpful supplies at a variety of these stores. The main referral I would give, which was to a store called Michael's, a craft store, was for magnifiers. There was a selection, it is probably hopefully still there, a selection of magnifiers that were really good quality, or good quality and really inexpensive. And a good magnifier can be quite pricey, but they went up to 3.5 times magnification, which is pretty high for a local shop. A lot of times past that, you really have to go online. But they had, like I say, good magnifiers at lower cost. Sometimes you can find, a lot of times you can find a neck magnifier or hands-free options at a craft store because people are using them for crafting. So just some interesting options there. Generally, again, good lighting, again, because crafting often requires that good task lighting. And so if you need it in general, a craft store can be a great place to find some high quality options there. And then even the organizational supplies. I regularly talk to people who are losing vision about organizing their pantries, organizing their spices, organizing as much as they can so they know how to find things when they can no longer read what is on that can or jar or box. And so those organizational supplies are often, readily available at craft stores. So let's take a look at some of those things that I've highlighted. So the first image is of a task light. And of course, there's many different styles. This is a tabletop task light, but there are floor lamps, and even neck magnifiers or visor magnifiers, or even just the headlamp. Headlamp might be more, they might have them at a craft store, that might be more hardware store or outdoor supply. But even things, the next image is a silicone thimble. So it's supposed to help with threading. There's a plastic cap on the thumb piece, and that helps push a needle in. So it has some indents, but it's solid, and it can help push a needle, especially like a larger, well, I guess larger or smaller, they can be tough. A needle through whatever you're sewing in, but also that finger support, so it can help actually grab the needle on the other end and pull it out, because that fine grip can be tough. So I loved that one. The next, there's a purple, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like a toaster to me, but it's very small, but it's a needle threader. I've only seen the kind of very small needle threaders, but I saw this one and I thought that was kind of an interesting gadget that will, I actually don't know if it works well. I just found it and I thought it was kind of cool. So if anybody has a comment on this, I would take it. Just it looks a little bit more robust, like the user might have to do a little bit less to get their needle threaded. I found large grip crochet hooks, which I thought was kind of nice. And then there's an image of a utility cart. I love a good utility cart for all kinds of things. Met with a woman yesterday with a significant tremor. Hard to get any beverage that's not a capped container, from where she's made it to where she wants to sit. So a utility cart can be a great option for that. There's something else I wanted to say when I got to the images, and it has escaped me. So Yeah, so it looks like there's no comments on this needle threader. Um, oh, so Nicole is writing that you can get sewing machines that thread themselves, and that you missed the end of that comment. That oh, can be controlled with your hands. Yeah, that's a nice option. Um, so then we go on to places like Walmart, where there's so much inventory. I mean, that is the advantage, right, of going to a store like Walmart, or even when we're talking about Lowe's and Home Depot, the big box stores. There's just so much under one roof, right? But the nice thing is, so you can use the pharmacy, you can use the grocery, they have all the things. Um, they are starting to do some more specialized displays. So this year, I think, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time I've heard about it, and I don't have young kids anymore. But they have a specialized back to school section that is basically kind of geared towards kids with disabilities. So they have a silicone handle. I should have brought one with me, but it can hook onto a marker or a toy or kind of anything you can hook this little handle around, and provide grip for a child that does not grip well yet. So and they had a variety of other things, but that was the kind of fun thing that was pointed out to me. So, even these big stores are really starting to open up and look, how can we serve a few more people? Um, and I think the downside to the big box stores is a lot of times there's not really um the staff are either around or that have depth of knowledge. Like when I go to Lowe's or someplace, every once in a while you get the guy who works there that knows everything about the electrical department. And then other times it's just somebody who's got a job and they're like, they can tell you where something is, and that's that. So, that's the kind of the downside is a lot of people at these box stores, they just have a job there. They don't have that depth of knowledge about the any of the specialized inventory. But again, lots of things. So let's look at some of the things. All right. So some of the things I found, this first one is from that school supply section, and these are finger focus highlighters. So they're little T-shaped highlighters that are in different colors, and there's a ring there, so they fit through that ring, go on the end of your finger, and then you can just slide it along text and using the highlighter color that works best for you. So this is more of like somebody with a learning disability who, or dyslexia or something that needs, or ADHD that needs that focus. And so that provides that focus. It's a really simple, low learning curve, low tech item. So I thought that was kind of cool. Somebody, actually our newest employee, Emily, I was talking to her and she was like, man, actually the nursing pillows can be a great benefit. I mean, obviously there's a use for them when you're nursing, but also if you are somebody with weak arms, so whether you're a kid or older, um, putting that pillow to rest your arms on to do a task, how great is that? Um, it's just, forearm support that is readily available, again, customizable in whatever kind of material you want. I chose the one with dinosaurs because, dinosaurs are cool, right? Um, but I hadn't really thought of that myself, so I loved that. Um, the next image, or the image on the lower right, is of silicone handles. So that's a great way if you don't want to replace all your pots and pans, you can add some silicone handles. Those kinds of things are available right at Walmart. And then you've got that cool grip in the pots you already have. And then there's a black disc, which is a wireless phone charger. I think charging our phones is something that many of us take for granted. But if you think about anybody with fine motor issues, with vision loss, with lots of different kind of conditions, that action of taking a small, rather flimsy wired charger and plugging it in, sometimes even in the right orientation, into that small port on your phone can be really tricky. But there's lots of these wireless options now, which is incredibly beneficial for folks with a variety of disabilities. So, so whether it is going to Best Buy and finding some of these things, or Walmart, really kind of thinking about how do I meet that need is a lot to me of what the local shopping is really useful for. All right, let's keep moving. And then there's Amazon and other online retailers, right? Amazon is becoming for me, almost just like the online shopping. It doesn't matter if it is actually Amazon or another site. So just an incredible amount of inventory, right? You can find nearly anything. I realized the other day that we are actually using Amazon to make our name badges. As a state employee, I was just really surprised by that, but that's what they do. You can shop from home. And again, for some people, that is local shopping, is online shopping. The thing I find tricky when you are shopping on Amazon, because there are so many options and you're looking at multiple similar devices, right? So again, if I go back to that hearing device, I want to find something that is just a personal amplifier. I could find a dozen of those on Amazon, but when you start reading the details of one and then the details of another, and the features that come with those devices, it can be really hard and confusing to remember which device had which feature that was the most beneficial for the need. And so that is something just to be wary of. They all can blend together because there are so many choices. And of course, you get something that says, money back guarantee, and some of those warranties don't really hold up as well as one might hope. And it is different when you can take it back to a store and say, hey, this just didn't function as I expected. And trying to do that with an online retailer can be really tricky. And also, look at the ratings, look at the reviews of things. That is nice when you are shopping online, is that you have that feedback available. Maybe it got 4 stars, but all the lower ratings were, just people who didn't really read the product description well, and it didn't function as they expected because they had unrealistic expectations. And other times it is it could be that the device is just not that good. So, those reviews can really make a difference in my mind. All right, let's look at, some of the things you can buy. So there is a personal amplifier on there, a style I had never seen, but I think I can imagine some people really liking this. It looks kind of like a phone case. A digital magnifier. One of the things that when I look up digital magnifiers on Amazon, there's a lot that are really inexpensive, and they're very small. So those are some of the details that I think, man, if people realize how small 3.5-inch screen is, they might not even want to spend 200 bucks on this, because it is a really small screen if your vision is very limited. But also things like portable cameras with audio. So basically like a baby monitor, which can be used in a lot of different ways. We're doing a lot of dementia care right now. And you know, these monitors that can give the caregiver peace of mind by knowing that their loved one is resting peacefully while they're making dinner or whatever, can be really, really helpful. And you can get a variety of those online, along with almost anything else under the sun. All right, I have a few minutes left, and I think I have a couple more slides. What's not available locally? Let's talk about that. So magnifiers with high strength, not available locally generally. AAC devices or devices for verbal communication, generally not available locally. So most high-tech assistive technology kind of options, generally not available locally. Very small companies. It's really hard for them to have a local presence. Some make it, some it just makes more sense to be online. And then Switch adapted toys. Very hard to buy Switch adapted toys locally, but we are planning a mod next month on Switch adapting. But also there are a variety of toys that can be accessible in a variety of ways. So, you know, that is something that is an option. All right, I think I have a couple more things. Okay, do it yourself, right? Hardware stores have so many supplies that are really prime for making your own AT. That's pretty cool when you and some of those supplies are very inexpensive. Like pipe insulation is super cheap. And it can be used in a variety of grip aids and different things. So 3D printing, you know, could talk about that all day, but I won't. But because there's now lots of opportunity to go into maybe a library or even talk to a school or go into a makerspace and say, I found this file, I want it printed, you know, and they're going to charge you $2 or something like that. And you know, it's just low cost, it's really local. It can be really a great way to get some things made for yourself or clients or family. And there's so many ideas for the DIY projects. You know, personally, I can be found occasionally in my spare time perusing Pinterest or YouTube or Instagram or other places where people have just put things they want to share, right? You know, one of my, well, I always go to this, if you've somebody who has lost use of one arm, whether it's a stroke or some other, even a shoulder condition, but you still have to carry your laundry basket up and down the stairs and you want to do it safely. So maybe you don't want to just like put it over one hip and use one hand. And so there's an OT that developed a sling basically for a laundry basket, right? It's just cool stuff that people want to share. And you know, the do-it-yourself options are really sometimes required because some, you know, some unique needs, there's never going to be anything manufactured to meet a very, very specific need. And so we have to create. And so you know, those hardware stores and 3D printers and all those other options become really helpful then. Okay, that may be my last slide. Oh no, I have some pictures. All right, DIY for the win. All right, so PVC, you can make lots of things out of PVC. The image there is of a tablet stand. There is a 3D printed kit in the next image, which has things like a cuff for a pen holder. There is a pencil, a big ball pencil holder, a key turner, a bottle opener, a bag carrier, even a tube opener, and in the front it looks like a signature guide. So all kinds of things that can be 3D printed. There is a wacky little picture of a iPad handle made out of pipe insulation and rubber bands, but if you need a handle, it works. I tell you, I've whipped that thing around and it held on to my iPad. There is an image of another tablet stand or book stand. You could use it for a cookbook or any kind of thing that is made out of corrugated plastic board and binder clips, all stuff that is pretty readily available. And then another PVC, this is just a switch stand. So all kinds of things you can make from local supplies. All right, that is my last slide. So thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, Scout. So to take us out here, I want to show everyone an integrated support star. So for anyone unfamiliar with Charting the Life course, a little bit about what that is. It is a framework and set of tools to help you think differently about your vision of a good life, high expectations, and integrating multiple types of supports. It also helps you to organize your ideas, visions, and goals, as well as problem solve, navigate, and advocate for supports. So this is the fillable tool version of the integrated support star that you saw earlier. And I really just wanted to show you this to see where the things that Scout talked about fit into the star. Um, and also show what an option looks like with somebody who doesn't have any eligibility specific services and supports. So your personal strengths and assets are going to be things that you're good at, things that people like and admire about you, um, any personal belongings that you have or knowledge and experiences that you have. So for this example one, um, being independent, reliable, they have a good job, they're organized, they're good at making friends, they have a good savings account. So they'll be able to purchase some of these local tech items that Scout talked about today. They also have a car and their own apartment, so they're able to get around to the community-based aspects. And then as far as relationships goes, that's going to be anybody that is able to give you a hand, anybody that you're able to rely on, whether it's spouse, parents, siblings, extended family, neighbors, friends, coworkers. Those community-based things are going to be things in the community that anybody would have access to. So those are all the things that Scout talked about: hardware stores, kitchen stores, grocery stores, pharmacies, craft stores, schools and libraries, anywhere that has a 3D printer. And then as far as technology, it could be everyday technology, environmental technology, adaptive equipment. So again, those are all of the things that Scout went over today. Um, so just wanted to kind of show where they fit in with a star when thinking about services and supports and kind of filling your resources without those eligibility specific options. And then if anybody has any questions for either Scout or I, if you want to put them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and I'll be able to unmute you. I'll give us a second before I go through the last couple of slides, but you're more than welcome to still input them as I'm going through the last slides. Okay, Scout, you should be able to now.
Okay.
All right.
I was just gonna put it in the chat. I just wanted to thank Paige for saying that she would like a mod on adaptions for crafting, which I think would be an interesting one as well. And if anybody else has suggestions, even if you want us to go back and maybe revisit a topic we've done in the past, and there's always more things to talk about. So, feel free to reach out to Angelina or to anyone here and say, hey, have you guys considered this? Or I'd like to see this, or I'd like to see it again. So just we are open to what you guys want to hear about. Otherwise, we'll just keep carrying on.
Yes, we love any suggestions. Okay, while we're waiting to see if any questions come in, I will go ahead and go through the rest of the series for the year. So as I mentioned earlier, the benefit series on those formal government supports is the second Wednesday of every month from 12:30 to 1:30. Our next one coming up is September 10th on veterans programs. October 8th is new for 2026 open enrollment, and November 12th is master plan on aging. And then for the technology series, these are the fourth Wednesday of every month from 12:30 to 1:30. September 24th will be how to switch adapt. October 22nd will be gift giving for loved ones with disabilities. And November 19th is moved up a little bit so that it's not during Thanksgiving week. And that is going to be caregiving for memory loss. And I will put all of these links in the chat in just a minute.
Yeah, and anyone can come to these. So if you have got other people that might be interested in one or more of either series, they can reach out to Angelina or to us, and maybe next time we can put the route for people to sign up independently as well.
Yes, so there's our contact.
Yeah, so invite anyone that you think would be interested. And then again, just let us know if you have a topic you'd like to hear about. Otherwise, I think that does it for this month. And thanks for joining.
Thank you all for joining us today.